Hey, welcome to The Explainer. So today we're digging into a book that's, well, a total game changer, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to find out why these tiny little changes can lead to some seriously remarkable results.
You ever just wonder why it's so ridiculously hard to make a new habit stick? I mean, we've all been there, right? You set this huge, ambitious goal, maybe it's a New Year's resolution, and you start out with all this energy. But then, a few weeks later, poof, that drive is gone, and you're right back where you started. So what is really going on?
Well, according to James Clear, the author of the book, the problem isn't you. It's not about a lack of willpower, and it's not even about having a flawed goal. The real issue? It's the system you're using. We're often focused on, believe it or not, the wrong part of the whole equation.
So we get totally fixated on the finish line, right? The outcome. Losing the weight, writing the book. But here's the catch. That approach completely ignores the deep-down beliefs that are driving our behavior in the first place. You might have a brand new goal, but you haven't actually changed who you are. Okay, so you're going to want to lean in for this next part, because this idea, it's the absolute heart of what makes Atomic Habits so powerful. It basically flips the whole traditional approach to changing our behavior on its head. So check this out. On one hand, you've got the way most people do it, working from the outside in. They start with what they want to achieve, figure out the steps, and just kind of hope it changes who they are. But Clear argues that for real, lasting change, you've got to work from the inside out. You have to start by deciding who you want to be first.
Okay, here's a perfect example. Imagine two people trying to quit smoking. Someone offers them a cigarette. The first person says, "No, thanks, I'm trying to quit." See? They still see themselves as a smoker who's just trying. But the second person says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It sounds like a tiny little difference in words, but it signals a massive shift in their identity. And that's the whole idea, right? The goal isn't just to, say, run a marathon. It's to become a runner. The goal isn't just to write a book. It's to become a writer. Your habits, they're like the proof you give yourself, day in and day out, that you are this new person.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually build these identity-shaping habits? Well, Clear gives us this simple but incredibly practical framework for doing exactly that.
He calls them the 4 laws of behavior change. And you can really think of these as 4 levers you can pull to either install a good habit into your life or, just as importantly, to uninstall a bad one. And what's so cool about this whole system is that each law has a perfect opposite for breaking a bad habit. To build a good habit, you make the trigger obvious and the reward attractive. You make the action itself super easy and the result immediately satisfying. And to break a bad habit, you just flip the whole thing on its head, make it invisible, unattractive, difficult, and totally unsatisfying. It's like a complete toolkit for redesigning your world and your behavior.
Okay, let's really zoom in on what might be the most powerful law for just getting started. That third law, make it easy. And there's this brilliant little technique in the book that honestly you can start using today.
It's called the 2-minute rule. The idea here isn't to change the world in 2 minutes. Not at all. The real goal is to create what Clear calls a gateway habit. An action that is so simple, so easy, that you literally can't say no. It's all about mastering the art of just showing up, because that's the very first step to embodying a new identity. So for example, instead of feeling all this pressure to read a whole chapter every night, your only job, your only commitment, is to read a single page. It sounds so small, right? But that one little action is a signal you're sending to yourself, hey, I'm a reader.
And the same logic works perfectly for exercise. Don't worry about that 3-mile run that feels so daunting. Just put on your running shoes. That's it. Once they're on, hey, you'll probably feel more like heading out the door anyway. But even if you don't, you've still taken that small step. You've cast a vote for being a runner.
Feeling totally overwhelmed by a huge study session? Yeah, we've all been there. Forget about the hours of work ahead of you. Your only task is to open your notes. That simple little act breaks the inertia and starts building the identity of someone who's a diligent student. And this right here is the crucial insight. You can't improve a habit that doesn't exist yet. The 2-minute rule helps you master the hardest part of all, just showing up. Once you've got consistency down, then you can start worrying about making it better.
All right, let's bring all of this full circle and tie it back to that super powerful central idea of identity.
This might be the single most important line in the entire book. Every single time you do that little 2-minute habit, you're casting a vote. Reading one page? That's a vote for I'm a reader. Tying your shoes? A vote for I'm a runner. Each tiny action is like a piece of evidence you're collecting that shapes your self-image.
You know, a single vote doesn't decide a whole election. And a single 1% improvement, it won't change your life overnight. But here's where the magic happens. The impact isn't just adding up, it's compounding. Getting just 1% better each day means that by the end of the year, you're not 365% better, you're nearly 37 times better. That is the insane, explosive power of atomic habits.
And this brings us right back to the central idea, the core of it all. Your identity isn't some fixed thing you're born with. It actually emerges from your actions. You literally become who you are through the things you do over and over again. Your habits, they are the pathway to becoming a new you.
And so that's the powerful question this book really leaves us with. This isn't about finding more motivation or setting some gigantic goal. It's about casting small, consistent votes for the person you want to become. So the question for you right now is this. What's one tiny action, one 2-minute habit you can do to cast the first vote for your future self?